2022, the first one of the year.
Yay!
So today we're going to talk about release of children, which is a very good topic, especially since we're just coming off of a lot of our inspections and things like that. Nice tail there, Alexis. So this is section 3270, and it specifically talks about release of children. First, we'll go through this, and then I will show you the forms, particularly one form that you use to document the release of children if that child is not on your emergency contact form. So the first bullet here says a child shall be released only to the child's parent or to the individual designated in writing by the enrolling parent. A child shall be released to either the parent unless a court order on file at the facility states otherwise. So if we have a court order on hand that says that this child cannot be released to a parent, we do not release. Keep that in mind that a parent may have another biological parent listed. So you really have to know who's who when it comes to parents picking up their kids. Does that make sense? So if you have a court order saying that a parent cannot have custody of that child, you cannot release to that child, but it's only a court order. If you don't have a court order and a biological parent comes to the facility, this is the kicker. If you have a biological parent that comes to your facility and is listed, obviously you can release. We have had situations where we've had a biological, this is one example, we had one biological parent who was not listed on an emergency contact form, and we ended up, because he came to pick up the child, was not on the form, we ended up having to call the mother to confirm that we could release, and we ended up releasing, even though they were not on the form, but it was a biological parent. Okay. It adds a little complication there. The second bullet is, if in an emergency, a child may be released to an individual upon oral designation by the parent. If we get oral designation, we have to verify that person. So I'm going to show you this on the emergency contact form. You all are familiar with this form now. This is the emergency contact form. Down here, there's a section that says, person to whom the child may be released other than the parent or guardian. Okay, y'all see that? There's 3 spaces for the parent to fill out a person to whom the child can be released. If mom calls you and says, Sam Smith can pick up my child, and Sam Smith is not listed on this form, that's when you have to get a verbal release, an oral release from the parent to release to Sam Smith. So keep that in mind, and it's why you have this form in your backpack, in your emergency first aid kit, and at your sites, because very possibly you could have someone other than the parent regularly picking up to pick up. Okay? So you got to check this form, especially if it's somebody you don't know. You better be checking this form and getting a photo ID. Again, if mom calls you and says, hey, Alexis, little Billy's uncle Sam Smith is picking up him today, then you've got to verify that. You've got to call mom back and say, okay, mom, just you take the information, and I'm going to show you the form that you're going to use, but you're going to take that information and you're going to hang up and you're going to call mom back again and verify. Okay. All right. So back to the slide.
I have a question off of that.
Yes.
So typically, I guess, oh goodness, my cat. He has to be on the screen anytime I'm talking to anybody. So we have to make sure we check that form and not just Daxco. Like typically Typically it's in both though, right?
Typically it is. Typically.
Okay.
It's always best to do your due diligence because you're talking about releasing a child.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you know who that person is.
Yeah.
Yeah. The business managers try very hard to get that information into Daxco. But sometimes they're human.
Yeah.
So it doesn't hurt to double check.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay. So if you take a verbal release and oral release, there are some things you got to make sure you get. You've got to make sure you get the name of the parent making the request. You've got to get the date and time of the request, the name of the individual to whom the child will be released. So little Billy will be released to Sam Smith. You got to get Sam Smith's name down on this form. The name of the staff person taking the call, and the name of the person, the staff person that is releasing the child. Okay, now we have a form to do this, to document all of this. And it is called a verbal request for release of child. This is found in the shared drive. I'm going to show you how to get it after I show you this form. But this form has it pretty much spelled out for you. Name of the child, name of the requesting parent, date and time, telephone number from which the parent is calling. So that's the phone number. When you hang up, that's the phone number that you're going to call the parent back on so that you can verify that, yes, indeed, it is Sam Smith that is going to pick little Billy up. Has the name of the individual to whom the child will be released, which is Sam Smith, the name of the staff person taking the call, and then it has a section about the confirmation when you call back. Okay. And then it has a section, name of staff person releasing child. So when that Sam Smith comes to pick up little Billy, Sam Smith needs to sign this form and date it.
When I get off this meeting.
Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Any questions? So I'm going to show you where this form lives. Here we are, shared drive. I'm going to go down to Youth Enrichment Drive. Going to go to Program Forms and Report Forms and Verbal Authorization to Release Child. There it is. You should already have copies of these forms on your site. You should. But if not, here's your chance to print one and get some copies at your site, just so you have them on hand. Okay. Any questions, comments, needed clarification? We're all good, right? Everybody thumbs up?
Yeah. I had a situation last year. It's weird to say that, but that the mom called and said, don't release my kids to their dad. But you need a court order.
Correct.
Something. That's what I passed along. It all ended up working out.
Well, that's good.
But it was a weird situation because she didn't have any sort of documentation. She was just like, don't let them go with them. And it was clear there were some conflicts at home.
It can be very tricky being in the middle like that.
Yeah.
Yep. But if you don't have a court order and it's a biological parent, you have to release, unless that parent is under the influence. Then we got another situation. Then I'm calling the police.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yep. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Any questions on anything?
Good.
All righty, guys. Well, thanks very much.